Yes. Yes, y'all. Rockin' City Connect today. Just going to say this. Mariners. Please sweep the Astros. Get yourself in a position to get a playoff spot. Please. Oh, it's just heartbreaking. See, and here's the thing. I'm a Phillies fan. Doug Zanger, executive director of Think Northwest, by the way. I'm a Phillies fan. I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. But I moved here in 1992. How can you not love the Mariners? How can you not love the Storm? How can you not love the Sound? Well, I'm Portland. How can you not love the Sonics, who will be back? That rivalry will be back. And you know what else you can love? The Thorns. Yeah, decent rivalry with Reign. Seattle Reign. But here's the big one. WNBA franchise coming to Portland, baby. Yeah. Alicia Valavanis, my friend and CEO at Seattle Storm. Here we come, baby. I'm looking forward to that rivalry. But most importantly, I am looking forward to just getting WNBA back in Portland. The fire was here 2000 to 2002. Yours truly worked on the radio side for sort of radio side for the Blazers. Back then, Paul Allen owned the stations. Late great Paul Allen. And yeah, that was fun. That was really, really cool. And it's long overdue. Now, we did talk about this, the rise of women's sports. We had a great event down in Portland. Our guest who we're bringing on here in a second joined us. He came down from Seattle, which makes me really, really happy that people come in from out of town. And as a reminder, Think Northwest. It's Oregon, Washington, Idaho, British Columbia. We've had people come from other places outside the Pacific Northwest as well. And it warms my heart because I love getting people together because the Pacific Northwest is unique. We are here to advance the business impact of bold, creative thinkers. We do that in three ways: growth for individuals and companies. Number two, unifying this beautiful community. Number three, raising visibility of our members, between members, but also in the Pacific Northwest, in the Northwest, and outside of the Northwest as well. A few other things here. We have the Think Northwest Open at Colwood. That is happening next week, next Friday. Now, foursomes, we don't have any available at this point. Thank you to Infillion for being the title sponsor. And you'll learn more about our other sponsors, including Amazon and Amazon XCM here in a second, but you can have a hang pass. That means you can hang out all day. And then at 4:00, you are free to play on the course at Colwood. You won't be in a foursome, but you're just there to chill. If you want to bring some sticks out and play, it's a great, fun par 3 executive course. We say it's a golf tournament, but it's a party that happens to have golf. So just go get yourself a hang pass, chill with us. And then the other thing, Marketing All-Stars, our 4th iteration of that. Nominations are open, and we're going to keep them open until it says October 4th, but my guess is we might go a little bit later. So we have 7 categories and in 3 main areas: individual, team, and campaign. So CMO and Marketer of the Year. Claudine Cheever from Amazon won that last year. Marketing Newcomers of the Year, Marketing Champion of the Year, Brand Marketing Team, In-House Agency, Creative Team of the Year, Consumer Marketing Campaign, and B2B Marketing Campaign of the Year. Go to thinknw.org to learn more. And you can reach out to me. I'm very easy to get a hold of. Zanger, Zanger at thinknw.org. Now, we are stoked to have 4 shows that we do. Creative Convos, where we talk about the work. Talent Talks, that's what it sounds like. Talent. We talk about talent growth, leadership. And then we also have member check-ins as well. So we love checking in with our members to find out what they've got going on. And finally, and this is one that we do a lot of times in conjunction with Club CMO, but also all of this programming is sponsored by Amazon and Amazon XCM, the Northwest Marketer. And I had mentioned earlier, the Pacific Northwest has a unique spin on things. And we love digging into it because it is unique, it is cool, it is interesting. And let me tell you, it works. We know how to do business and do it a little bit differently up here in this corner of the world. And we're very, very happy to have Adam Craw, Global Head of Prime Marketing at Amazon, joining us today. Thanks again for coming down to the session at the Sports Broad. That was so much fun.
No, it really was. It was a great time. I really enjoyed listening to the panelists, seeing people having a good
So good.
time.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, great turnout too. I mean, I don't think there was
Yeah.
anywhere to sit.
No, there wasn't. No, it was college all over again. Okay, so now here's the thing. The Portland WNBA team, the Storm, there will be some action put down. So we'll figure out what that bet is. Okay. So there, I mean, if you think about it, if if you're a Cowboys and an Eagles fan, so if you lose a bet as an Eagles fan, you have to wear like a Cowboys hat or something like that. So here's what I'm going to propose. We'll figure out the finer details of it. So we will create an Amazon wish list, and you will have to pick one of the things on that wish list and publicly either wear it, present it, or share it when Portland, and we can do it the full season or we can do it game by game. But I'm just saying that there will be a wish list, an Amazon wish list of things that, it could be a costume. It could be, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there. We'll work out the finer details later.
Doug, I don't remember that being part of the deal here, but okay, let's do it.
Okay, I like it. Speaking of wish lists, I mean, it's September. I already started on the kids' Christmas list. Oh, my mother out east is like, what do the kids want for Christmas? I said, I will start putting together my Amazon wish list for you.
Well, thank you.
Let's just make it a little bit easier. Now, you have been at Amazon for 5 years in the role around Prime marketing for 3. And what's really interesting about your background is that you've had this very, very front row seat to retail over the years in your role. So walk us through your background, because I think that helps contextualize what we're about to talk about today.
Yeah, no, I think we talked a little bit about the Pacific Northwest, and I've actually had a chance to work in the Northwest for a decent part of my career. I actually started here in Seattle on the agency side, working in wireless telecom, and that was many years ago, pre iPhone, and got my chance to cut my teeth in that retail world. And I mean, wireless telecom is super competitive. And back then it was how many minutes you had on your cell phone plan. That's how long ago it was.
Nighttime minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nighttime minutes. We when I was working, it was with T-Mobile, and they had this product called Fave Fives, and you had 5 people, no matter what carrier they were on.
Yes.
You could talk to them, and it didn't count against your minutes.
I had that. Yeah.
So yeah, so started there. So that was here in Seattle. A few years after that, I came back to the Pacific Northwest and was in Portland at Wieden and Kennedy,
Yep.
and I worked on Target. So again, another front row seat to big box retailing, and worked on back to school. They had a new store format. They were expanding grocery. So just seeing how the retail world was expanding, and how they thought about their customer. They called them guests,
Yes.
and in that experience, and then took a bit of a, that the kind of those everyday purchases, or smaller transactions on a retail side, and moved into automotive. Obviously, a lot more consideration, but also has a big retail component to it.
Yes.
And working on the brand side of that, the role was really to drive demand, drive the awareness, drive the consideration. And then in a unique way within the automotive category, then you have to get them to the dealer, which are all independent franchises, and give them marketing. I worked on Subaru for about 5 years, and that was from a brand standpoint, a great auto brand who lived and breathed their brand. Like, it was very much a marketing led organization, all the way down to the dealers. We would go to their annual meetings where they had all the dealer owners come into town, and they talk about things, that we're offering, new vehicles that we're launching, and that sort of thing. But those dealers loved the marketing. It was something they could, and it was a really interesting. We were able to take a big brand message and bring it down to the community, where the dealers could work with local charities. They have a big thing
Yep.
that they call their Love Promise,
Yep.
and that was a way to differentiate themselves. It wasn't just all about the sale. We used to joke that their end of year season during the holidays was a sales event, except you didn't get a discount on the vehicle. What you did is you purchased a Subaru, and then you made a donation, and the dealership would match that donation
Yeah.
to either a local or national charity, which is kind of unheard of when you think about sales events,
Sure.
especially around the holidays. So that was a great experience. And so that was all agency side. So I was about 15 or so years working on the agency side and working on campaigns like that. And then back in 2019, so about five years ago, I joined Amazon. And originally, I joined in the retail organization and supported our marketing with vendors or
Mhm.
brands within home entertainment, musical instruments, and the audio and accessories categories. And that was working with them on their marketing on site. And providing them visibility and working with them to drive traffic, direct traffic to purchases. I kind of missed the brand marketing,
I get
and
it.
so that led me back to the organization, the cross channel marketing team or XCM, and the Prime team. Like I said, about 3.5 years ago, joined the team. I've had a chance to touch a lot of different things within our Prime marketing from Prime Day back in 2022
Mhm.
and that global endeavor of a sales event. It still is amazing to me how many people participate in that event around the world. We launched a new one that's actually live right now. It's called Prime Big Deal Days, and that was another sales event that we launched when I was working on that part of the business. And then now I lead our brand campaign, so our brand marketing,
Mhm.
global brand idea, working, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit more, but leading that campaign and brand positioning with a lot of different countries.
Right. I I wanna we should play Concrete Jungle because that's, like, such a nice segue in because I do wanna talk about the value prop a little bit more. But I think let's watch this first because I think this is an interesting snapshot because what you see is a lot of small and big pieces being put together over an extended period of time. So let's take a look at Concrete Jungle. Love this ad.
She's my head in regret. There might not be another vision. One that makes me forget. I wish I was another person. And they steal ideas from your daughters, the one they won't fight. Sublime, I swear, naked or but divine, and touched by them, only fight. Full of blood.
It looks just like home. I'm so proud of you.
Listen, we're going to probably talk about Joe Shoesmith. And she's just so gifted as a creative leader. And it is so interesting because, I don't want to say jaded ad nerds, but we've seen that evolution from what Prime was before to something that is very different. So talk a little bit about how the value prop has changed and how the creative has kept up with that because that is really excellent work across the board. It really, really is. And I could spend hours talking about pacing and casting and all that other stuff, but I don't want to bore everybody. But the net on this is 5 years ago, very different than it is today. So let's talk about how that value prop has evolved and how the work has evolved with it.
Yeah, no, and that's the Concrete Jungle is definitely one of my favorites of the pieces of creative we've produced. It still gives me goosebumps whenever I watch it. It's talking about creative genius and picking the right music track to evoke the
Mhm.
right emotion and that sort of thing. I think the interesting thing is, for Prime, the products obviously have evolved from when it first launched. That was really about getting that all you can eat fast and free delivery. And we've added, it's added benefits. I think that one of the biggest ones being Prime Video becoming part of the Prime membership.
Right.
And so it's interesting. I don't think the value proposition for Prime is still one that it's about offering, great value to members, from fast free delivery on millions of items, savings on everyday essentials, a lot of entertainment options between Prime Video and Amazon Music, and as well as other benefits. I think what we've gotten better at is articulating the value proposition and what
Mhm.
makes Prime unique and valuable. Um, and I think if you look back with the proliferation of Brand Plus, Prime was really the first one.
Mhm.
And so now I think we need to be able to articulate, number one, why it was great when it was launched, but also why it's even more valuable now, with other options available to customers. So and really the thing that we knew we needed to do with this the It's on Prime brand idea and campaign was communicate this holistic message about Prime, its benefits and the value to members, and show that to them. We focus on entertainment and retail. Those allow us to be a little more youthful. We can bring the idea that Prime is an entertainment, has an
Mhm.
entertainment component to it, not just a retail component. And those two are probably, if you would say, I would say probably the tent poles in our brand marketing. It really draws the customer in.
I would argue that retail can be entertaining.
Yeah.
So, you talk about retail and entertainment. Um, I can't recall going to Amazon, been a Prime member forever, um, for the sake of, I just letting everybody know, for the sake of just, being good, nice about it, being ethical. But I'm all like, it is entertaining to shop on Amazon. I don't ever go to it and feel like I'm, gargling shards of glass, and some other things. I always find that there's like possibility, and there's something to, and I find that really entertaining. I would also say, and I would argue, you had mentioned that this brand, so Prime, has matured over time, and a lot of times with maturity, it's interesting to watch how brands are able to tell their story more confidently. So my argument would be that the current direction and how it's evolved and grown is, it's a lot, it's very confident, but not in a way that's overly swaggy. It's just, we are very confident in all of this.
Yeah, I think, and I think what we've been able to do is, with that maturity and that confidence, I think we can focus on the customer. We can show how the customer uses Prime, which, as a company that is obsesses over our customers, I think it's important for us to show them, and how, and their dimensionality. We're all people, and this is, we saw one ad, but there's a selection of other ads where we tell different stories and how those customers use Prime in their life, that I think people can relate to.
Right.
It's an enjoyable shopping experience. You're able
Yeah.
to find the thing, that you need. Um,
No, and it's true. No, and it's true. And I think that Target is the same way. And it is interesting. You had the Target background, and so, very similar kind of vibe. Which, yeah, there's comfort in it. There's definitely comfort in it. Um, let's talk about the fine line between balancing creativity and performance, because we always want everything to work, but I would argue that good creative work performs very, very well. And we'll get into a little bit about brief strategy, execution, things like that. We're not going to go too necessarily deep into it, but let's talk about balancing creativity and performance. What do you look for in the work that helps address those two things?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I don't think creativity and performance they're not mutually exclusive.
I know.
If your marketing isn't effective, it's not really marketing.
Right. Right.
It needs to, it exists. Marketing exists. It's the blend of art and commerce. It's meant to drive an action from a customer. So when I look at the work, when we write briefs, and work with our agency partners, you want to find what's that insight that's going to truly unlock the challenge for the customer, depending on what that could be, and it's going to vary for brands or
Mhm.
campaigns or products and that sort of thing. But you truly need to find the insight. And I find that the insight isn't I think data points can be part of the insight, but they aren't the only insight.
Right.
And I think often it becomes, well, the business challenge is X data point. And if you don't have the texture of the customer, and
Mm,
the tension that they're feeling, it's really
mhm.
hard to bring that to life and be effective. So um, it really is, those sorts of things are really critical to effective marketing and underpinning why a customer's going to care. They need to, they need to relate to it. It needs to feel relevant to them.
Right.
And I think the other thing too is learning. Um, when you put something out into the world, um, I wish I was perfect and every
Oh God.
campaign that I ever worked on,
Oh, right.
achieved every, blew
Right.
the KPIs out of the water. And
Right.
sometimes you do, but other times you do well, but there's always an opportunity to learn and improve. And so I love working with our insights team here at Amazon and really teasing out the nuances, because it's in the anecdotes, it's in the nuances.
Yep.
It's not just in a score. And so looking at that, listening to what the customer is saying, listening to and observing how the customer is reacting, and then continuing to optimize, iterate, and improve. And within the campaign for Prime, we've learned from our first piece of creative we put out into the world to an ad that we launched this summer, and all of those learnings are reflected, and they're nuances, they're not wholesale changes.
And I love that you're saying things like nuance and texture and just those are so important because yeah, the quant is important. The qualitative gets ignored too much, I feel. And again, I mentioned Joe Shoesmith, and I think I want to take a moment to acknowledge her brilliance. And I'm not just saying that. It's the truth. She's just great. And I'm curious about how her leadership style and her point of view, and she's done excellent work, global work throughout her career. How when she came in and how many I can't remember how long she's been in her role, but I mean I noticed almost an immediate change
Mm.
when she arrived. But I'm curious about how that inspires the rest of the team, even people who aren't necessarily on the front lines of the creative, because it's you'd mentioned auto dealers, right? The tier three, which are the dealers, when they have a great campaign that comes from the brand, they're proud of that. And so I'm curious to understand how her leadership has been a force for good internally.
Yeah, no, I feel very fortunate to work with the people that are on the team. And Joe definitely being one of them. I've had the experience of working on the agency side, and Joe comes from the agency side as
Right.
well. And I think you find there it can be a rarity sometimes to find creative leaders who are as invested in the business
Yep.
as they are in the creative. And I think that's one of the great things that Jo brings to the team. Her creative bar doesn't lower. Um, it's still
So
insanely
high.
high,
Yeah.
and it's a great thing. But what she also brings is she understands the impact we need to make with with our marketing.
Hmm.
She understands why and the business part of it.
Hmm.
And I think having that ability to toggle back and forth
Mm,
between those two parts of the equation, of effective marketing, are invaluable. There's no having worked again with a lot of creatives over the years. You're rarely do we have to debate the business challenge
sure.
or
Right.
those sorts of things because we're in it every day. She's in a lot of the same meetings or meetings that I'm not a part of that where we're talking about the business
Right.
challenges that we're facing on whether it's Prime or another campaign that XCM's a part of. And I think that's refreshing. And I think it is a unique quality and her perspective. She brings her
Right.
own life experiences and perspectives to the work, as we all do. And I think having a diverse team around her, as well
Yeah.
as around our organization, brings that added layer to up level the work. And that includes our agency partner on Prime. You know, it's a diverse team that we have with Wyden and Kennedy in London. To again to be able to tell stories that resonate to a lot of different people, but aren't vanilla.
Yep. Totally get that. I'm gonna play this one. So here's how we'll do this. I'm gonna play this one that was in the Japanese market. And we're gonna talk a little bit about navigating global markets. And then what I'll do is I'll play Double Shot Dad, and this is the one I think we'll break that one down a little bit more. So we're not gonna break all of them down, but we'll break down the brief strategy and execution of Double Shot Dad. But let's take a look at this work in the Japanese market.
そんな気がしてたんだ全部意味一つもないような今は自由に歌い次は大丈夫と思っていて
Similar vibe, right?
Yep.
Executed exceptionally well. So let's talk a little bit about how you're addressing and navigating those markets and how the marketing differs. And obviously, there are local and regional affectations that you have to think about, but there's a lot more going on there.
Yeah, no, that was again another fun one to produce. And if I rewind the clock before we ever got to that 30-second ad, is we worked with our partner teams in Japan. We have XCM org in Japan as well. And we did research. We did qualitative research because we wanted to make sure that this brand positioning was really originated in Western culture, right? It was,
Mm,
teams in the US, in the UK, South America, and Japan is different. It's a different part of the world. It has a different culture, and there's nuances. And we actually we hadn't finished Concrete Jungle, the US version, so we kind of
mhm.
did some storyboards to bring it to life with some input from our Japanese team members, and we got feedback about it. Some of it you never would have considered. As
That's
simple
interesting.
as how many plants are on the balcony.
Yeah, that matters.
It did because we were over there in the summer and there's bugs. It's hot, it's
Right.
humid, there's bugs. You have plants that invites bugs into your home. That's not something you want. And it's something as simple as that. And also, if you notice when he walks into the apartment, number one, the apartment needed to feel as if somebody living in an urban environment in
Right.
Japan. But you notice he doesn't roll the bag into the apartment; he carries it. And the plant, when he pulls the plant across the floor, it's actually on something with like caster wheels on it. It's like
Right.
on a platform versus being on the floor. That was, again, as somebody living in the US, you might not notice that, but if you
Right.
were in Japan and you were Japanese, you would, because you wouldn't do that. And it's those sorts of nuances and insights that I wouldn't have if I didn't, number one, talk to
Right.
customers or work with our team in Japan.
Right.
And yeah,
So
so
now I want to look at. I'm looking on these. Okay. Okay. I got another one here. So hold on. So when you go 8 seconds in, when he walks in, there are. Hold on. Let me get my ugly mug up here. So I worked for the Bank of Tokyo for 3 years, and this is really interesting. And I'd be interested if your team knew this. So when he walks in, there are 3 boxes on the ground. Do you know why there wouldn't be 4? Because that's considered unlucky in Japanese culture. So if you had 4 boxes in this frame, it would have been like, oh no. So there's a little fun fact. And as you were talking about that, as you were talking about some of the subtle nuance, I'm like, let me go look at this. And yeah, there's 3 boxes there. So 3 is, I don't know if 3 is lucky. I know 4 is unlucky. So isn't that amazing though?
It is, and I think that's, part of the challenge of working on a global brand.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussions that happen before we ever get to rolling digital film on a set,
Right.
and understanding, getting inputs, being collaborative. At the end of the day, my goal is for Prime to be consistent across the globe, so that way the brand continues to build
Yep.
and has that consistency. It's important for a brand to be consistent. It's how it sticks.
Yeah.
The science behind it of creating these memory structures in a customer's mind, so that way when you see the red label on a Coke bottle, instantly, or the shape of the bottle, or
Right.
those sorts of things, and that's what we want to do for Prime.
Yep.
That you want to create these memory structures, the boxes being one of them, the shopping experience, this idea of being excited when the package arrives,
Right.
our great content on Prime Video. We want those things to really stick into customers' minds. Is going back to our value proposition. That's what makes Prime unique.
What's the show? The Summer I Became Pretty. That's
Summer I Turned Pretty?
Yeah. My wife and daughter watch that constantly. I walk down, I'm like, what are you watching? I was like, okay, not for me. I'm gonna go watch reruns of Travel Man on Prime Video. Which is a great British show. I like British stuff. All right, we're gonna nerd out a little bit. So I do want to get into a little bit of some nuts and bolts here. So let me play this.
It's 10 feet. One shot makes you a soup for 24 hours.
Waiting for the break of day. Getting up to splash my face. Wanting just to stay away. Should I try to do something?
Is there a 60 version of that?
No, only a 30.
See, I honestly think that this brand is one of the rare brands where, 30s do great, but I feel like you could do 60s all day long. You could do 90s with the way that these storylines spread out. And that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, because you can't necessarily do that all the time. And that's what I love. There's these little glimpses of life, these narrative threads that are densely packed into 30 seconds and 60 seconds. So let's walk through the brief on that one. Tell me about the brief. Let's start with that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this at the beginning when we were talking about just the reframing the Prime campaign and positioning, and it really started there. Again, how do we talk about our customers and how they use Prime? We've seen three different ads now, and you can see, and like you said, Doug, like you can see, you can show life stages, you can show,
Yep.
that sort of thing within the moments of people's lives, and I think this is another unique one. The two examples that we saw previously were just happened to be single people moving to
Right.
a new place. This is a new parent
Just in there.
and navigating
Yeah.
that life.
Yep.
The late night bottle feeds. What are you doing just to keep your eyes awake so that way you can make sure that
Right.
you can get the child back to sleep? And I think, again, how do we show how Prime can help with that? And some the character in this story happens to be watching The Boys.
Yep.
Superpower. This guy being like, man, I need a superpower. How do I get through this
Yep.
this dad life sort of situation? And okay, he goes to coffee, and the idea of, okay, bridging the entertainment and the retail side, inspired by
Yep.
something that they saw, and being able to order it quickly and have it arrive quickly. And if you kind of, again, that's the execution, but the background on that is, it, how do we reframe? It's not just a collection of benefits; that it has utility. It
Yep.
has a deeper ability to, we're very much about Prime members. They have passions, they have interests. Well, this guy just gets into coffee, and he goes from coffee beans to, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, to espresso. And
Yeah.
it's like, this progression of, like, I'm getting really into this coffee thing. It becomes his thing. It becomes his superpower, if you will,
Right.
and that sort of thing. And we kind of articulate that strategically, of like, whatever you're into, it's on Prime. And then
Right. Yeah.
in the marketing that real people see, we
Right.
shorten that down to it's on Prime.
My fa my favorite part of that spot is the heel stomp. The kid heel stomping dad. Not on purpose, of course. I'm curious. I always love the just trying to find like the little things in there. So what was there anything left on the cutting room floor that you wish made it back in or made it in?
We had, I think, if I remember, and this dates me, but Mr. Mom, and some of
Right.
the shenanigans of, like, changing the diaper. There's
Yeah.
a moment of dad watching the laundry.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And some of those sorts of things.
Making chili for the baby.
Yeah, there's just that sort of thing. I think there's even, I appreciate you saying we could definitely do 60s and 90s. I'll talk to the media team about that. It's
Yeah.
not like, it's definitely a conversation we've had in the past.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And but yeah, there's all those, like, other ways that dad was kind of navigating life,
Yeah.
and with his child, and really it was, I think the potential easy way to go in a story like that is to show, like, parenting sucks. But you can see that's actually not the story here. The
Yeah.
story is, dad actually likes being a dad. He's trying to figure out how to navigate through that life stage. And the child really is present, as he's evolving. And I think there's a moment where his dad gets into the whole coffee thing. The kid's not throwing. Oh, there was something on throwing. I think where the kid threw the food at dad, which is also another classic
Yep.
sort of experience as a parent. But he's getting better at it. He's being able to balance that. And it's nice to see that Prime can help enable that. We're not like, we can't solve the world's problems. But when it comes to these stories, and these moments and life stages of our customers, we can definitely be part of that narrative
Yeah.
for them.
There have been a lot of lessons learned along the way since you've, first of all, been at Amazon, but also in your role, your current role. What's one or two of the biggest lessons that you've learned along the way?
I think if I look back at this campaign, launching a global brand campaign, not easy.
No, it's not. There isn't a key on the keyboard that says launch global campaign.
No, there's not. And I say that because there's a lot of stakeholders. There's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of collaboration. We've launched in Japan, as we saw, Brazil, the UK, Germany, a couple other countries in Europe, Canada, Mexico, the US, obviously. A lot of different cultures within that mix.
Sure.
And there's partners. We partner with Prime Video. We partner with Amazon Music. There are benefits of Prime. We need to make sure that we're telling the same story of Prime and how it works, and how it fits within people's lives when it gets down to that brand positioning, that consistency. Um, I think that that's a big challenge. A challenge that we took on, that as ambitious, marketers,
Sure.
was fun. I really enjoyed it. I got to meet a lot of people, go to a lot of different countries, work, roll up the sleeves and work with the team. But it's not an easy proposition, and it doesn't get easier. There's certain things become easier because we have alignment, but again, the business in the UK is experiencing
Right.
different things than Japan than it is in the US or Canada. And so how are you navigating those evolutions across a global economy and a global company?
Right.
So that's probably definitely one of the first challenges. And developing. I think the lesson there is how do you build those relationships. I think being a former account person, on the agency side, definitely was good training in that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Working in different categories, and having to learn a new category quickly to understand motivations, business challenges, business objectives, and being able to kind of cache all of that in your brain and be seen as a collaborator and a partner, not as somebody who's trying to, come down and knock the gavel,
Yeah.
and say, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I want to end on this.
Yeah.
What are some goals, some future goals for Prime? And then, you'd mentioned Wieden Kennedy London, and I know that there are a lot of other creative partners in a lot of different parts of Amazon's business, not just here as well. But what do you want to see from creative partners? So what are the goals, and then what do you want to see from creative partners?
Yeah, I think, as I sit right here, right now, we're very pleased with how our brand campaign has performed, since we launched it back in March of 2023. I want to keep building on those successes. We talked about learning, analyzing,
Right.
iterating, optimizing. We'll continue to do that. Looking at how we can continue to extend this campaign. We work with teams in Singapore and Australia. The maturity of Prime isn't the same there.
True.
They're
Yeah.
trying, so how do you take this idea? And the idea when we developed it was meant to be flexible. It should be able to flex based on the maturity of Prime, wherever you are in the globe. And so we spend a fair amount of time working with teams on that, and that gives me as much joy as seeing a beautiful television commercial
Sure.
on TV. So that's definitely, as I look like big goals, like that's definitely one of them. And then from agencies, I think, we work with a lot of agencies at Amazon, not only in XCM but across the company. And I think what's important, I think even more so now, is you need that creative and business partner, who's as invested, in the success. And I know that sounds trite, and obviously that's how agencies and brands work together. But I think even more so now, it's critical. It's important to have partners who get the business and don't water down creative ideas. You still want to be pushed. You still want to have
Right. Yes.
those conversations, those debates on what's the right thing to do. But when it's rooted in the customer insight, um, um, it makes it, and the data and why it's the right thing to do And sometimes you do take a risk. Sometimes you say, this is just, it feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier discussion when you have to run it up, through an organization that's complex, to have those strong, foundations of why, not because we think it could be a great ad, which is tough. As someone who's worked on the agency side and think of myself as a creative marketer, I understand that and I empathize with it. And I really talk to my agency partners on, okay, how do we make this great idea even stronger by tying it back to what our business objectives are and our, especially when it's kind of like a one-off ad hoc idea that seems great. How do we get that back to the business so that it doesn't feel just like it's something ad hoc?
Right, exactly. We could go on for hours. As president of the Joe Shoesmith fan club Northwest, or actually Oregon chapter, shout out to Joe. She's always been so nice. Here's the thing: it's like I'm a fan, I'm a fan of her work and all of that, but I'm just this little long-haired freak from Portland, and she, every time we've interacted, she's just been nothing but generous, kind, and awesome. So that's why I'm the fan club guy.
Yeah, she's great. I can understand.
Yes, and thank you to the whole XCM team, especially Stephanie Waddle, Deanna Perry. We have so much more stuff to explore with all of you, and again, we can't thank you enough for supporting this mission, supporting the content, supporting the learning, just everything that we're doing. It makes a huge difference to building this mission and this organization. And Adam, it's been really, really fun getting to know you over the past month and a half, and looking forward to do more stuff with you, man. And this is just great work. Keep on keeping on, man.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate the invite. Always happy to talk.
All right. Let's have you hang out backstage for a second as I wrap this thing up. All right, everybody. A reminder, Think Northwest open next Friday in Portland. You can still get a hang pass. Go to thinknw.org. We will have more events and things coming up. We're happy hour. October. I think it's going to be Seattle. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Seattle. And we'll do more. We have some other things bubbling in Seattle, but not just a happy hour, but also a creative showcase. So if you are a Think Northwest member, we want to see your work. That comes in the form of creative convo, which we can do online, and streaming live like we do this, or an agency check-in, a member check-in. But we also want to be able in the happy hour to celebrate your great work. To learn more about the benefits of membership, go to thinknw.org. To our members, thank you so much for your support. To our wonderful board, thank you for helping us grow the mission. And on behalf of everybody at Think Northwest, I'm Doug Zanger. We will see you next time.